These fish tanks have strange designs, insanely expensive fish, and the most unusual features. There are some home aquariums and fish tanks that take things to a whole new level. So let's dive into today's video on the top 15 most unusual home aquariums and fish tanks. Number 15. The Balancing Fishbowl. Since most fish bowls are made of glass, one of a fish owner's worst nightmares is for the entire thing to topple over and shatter into a million pieces. However, this balancing fish bowl seems to invite this possibility. This is because the bowl, which is created by Sheffield-based design studio Salt Design, is made so that the fish inside looks like they're going to tip the entire thing onto the floor. However, since these tanks are counterbalanced using a counterweight, they remain in place. And since they're hand-blown from premium glass, each tank has its own unique form and individual characteristics. However, given that they cost over $300 a pop, owning one of these cool tanks isn't cheap. Number 14. The Keg Tank. Nothing quite completes a man cave like having a nice keg of beer on site, yet it turns out that sometimes these kegs can have a fishy surprise. This is because on the Animal Planet show Tanked, Brett and Wade created a unique beer keg tank that's like no other. Made using 3 real beer kegs, the team first had to drain and, to ensure it didn't go to waste, drink all of the beer inside the kegs. They then took off all the different parts and welded it into a 3-part piece, and after surrounded a wooden barrel with acrylic, took out the barrel and created what was essentially a massive barrel-shaped tank on top. To top this off, they made it so that the kegs could be refilled with beer, and as a result, the keg tank is both flamboyant and functional. Number 13. Shaq's Egyptian Tank. When celebrities get too much money, they often start to spend it on stupid things, and Shaq's Egyptian Tank is no exception. You see, Shaq decided that he wanted to build an Egyptian-themed room in his mansion, and after he did, he wanted to install a fish tank right in the middle. Following that theme, Brett and Wade from the show Tanked created an 800-gallon triangle-shaped tank that had an Egyptian sphinx at each face, Egyptian hieroglyphs inside, and 3 large groupers swimming around inside. However, since the largest groupers can grow up to 1 meter in length, even this tank will one day be too small for it. And by many accounts, the tank is pretty tacky. However, despite the strange design choice, Shaq thought the fish were symbolic of his own size and strength and loved the theme. And given that he paid for it, the fact that he likes it is all that really matters. Number 12. Vending Machine Tank. When people use a vending machine, they usually want to get a snack or a drink and go. But those with a little extra time on their hand can sit back, sip and snack, and enjoy the fish that were added as a unique feature to this one-of-a-kind vending machine. You see, on the surface, the tank is a fully functional vending machine, as it sells sodas to those who want them. However, its second use is as a fully customized aquarium, consisting of a seahorse tank and a tropical tank. There are a bunch of cool species variants of classics, such as the clownfish inside there, and overall, it's a pretty cool piece. In terms of the designers, it was built by Brett and Wade again from the hit show Tanked, and given their reputation, the craftsmanship is undoubtedly top of the line. So I think you'd agree it'd be a pretty cool addition to any home, work, or office space. Number 11. The Pool Aquarium. If you've ever swam in an outdoor pool, you've probably imagined a scenario where real fish were swimming around with you. And while the chemicals necessary to keep a pool clean prevent most people from putting fish in there, the Denji brothers put this dream into action by converting their pool into a massive aquarium. With the help of the companies SoCal Aquatics and Reef Creations, they first started by putting in a bunch of artificial reef inserts to make the pool look like a coral reef. Then they filled the pool with about 73,000 liters of salt water, and in order to prep the tank, they heated it so that it remained at a constant temperature of between 77 and 80 degrees. They then added some seaweed, prepped the fish, and then started to release them in, with the repertoire including yellow tangs, blue damsels, flame angelfish, porcupine fish, and even a spotted leopard moray eel, stingrays, and some sharks. They then proceeded to swim around inside of it, and while this is not exactly clear whether or not they kept this cool pool, it's certainly interesting. Number 10. Aquarium Beds. While mob movies have given a rather insidious meaning to the phrase sleeping with the fishes, the aquarium bed allows you to do so without losing your pulse. That's because it gives a quite literal take on the saying by essentially being a bed that's filled with beautiful fish. While there are a few companies that make them, one of the leaders in the aquarium bed field is the company Acrylic Tank Manufacturing. That's because they create a top-of-the-line bed frame that has a massive 650-gallon tank that arches over the pillows, which allows you to lay back watching the fish swim up and down. In order to be a bit more homey, the aquarium bed has lamp lights that are inside of the tank, making reading a book or scrolling through your timeline at night a breeze. As a result, these beds are truly a cool addition to any home, and when you consider that they cost between $16,000 to $17,000 to create and install and must be maintained on a regular basis, you should probably think twice before splashing some loads of cash on this incredible aquarium. Number 9. The Dream Pond. Oftentimes, homeowners decide to put fish into their ponds, creating outdoor aquariums that are to die for. However, of all the cool ponds out there, few are quite like the monstrosity built by Brett and Trisha Untanked. Located at Brett's very own home, he wanted to build a pond that overtook the pond located at his friend's and business partner Wade's house, and I think that he certainly managed to pull it off. First and foremost, the pond has acrylic glass that's above ground, allowing you to see the koi fish from both a side view and a bird's eye view, giving the setup a little bit of character. He also put a massive fountain right in the center, which for a bit of extra flair has a flame lit up on top, while in the corner a massive rock waterfall gives the area a bit more of a wow factor. However, the coolest feature on the Dream Pond are their 2 massive theater screens at each side of it. These allow you to have a theater in the park type of setup in the backyard. And when you further consider that the entire pond is filled with super cool koi fish and turtles, it's not hard to see why this pond is truly elite. Number 8. The Fishfluencer. Many of you guys watching probably have a side hustle, yet I'm pretty confident that few of them are quite as strange or as profitable as the one run by the infamous Fishfluencer. Also known as Aqua Malik, he hails from Toronto, Canada, and he's best known for getting onto Vice to talk about his incredible at-home hustle of fish selling. You see, Malik's primary job is an extra in movies, but when he's not on set, he's usually inside his room in his apartment that he's converted into an aquarium. Home to about 3,000 fish split between 55 and 60 tanks, the Fishfluencer apparently sells these fish to hobbyists, and according to him, it allows him to bring in about $60,000 in revenue and $45,000 in net profit every single year, with each tank bringing in about $5,000 before being retired. Beyond the money, this massive aquarium also has a mental health benefit, as he has noted that the aquarium helps him deal with the PTSD he experienced growing up in war-torn Sri Lanka, as the fish put him at ease and make him feel calm and relaxed. So, given that the aquarium provides both his mind and his bank account with substantial benefits, I'd say it's a pretty sweet gig. Number 7. The Moody Aquarium Sink. While most people keep their fish in their living room or bedroom, the Moody Aquarium allows you to keep your fishy friends in the wettest part of your house. That's because this tank is essentially a replacement for your sink, as it takes aquariums to the next level by putting one inside of a sink bowl. Now, the inside of the tank is completely customizable in terms of additions and fish species, and is shaped in such a way so that the sink can function as normal without the hot or cold faucet water affecting the fish. This is because the tank is built around the sink rather than being part of it, and it's got a power head to ensure proper lighting, water circulation, oxygenation, and filtration is achieved at all times. There's also 2 openings on either side of the sink basin so you can clean the tank when needed. And to be extra careful, the basin was rigorously tested to ensure that the water inside the tank won't heat up, even when the sink is filled with hot water for prolonged periods of time. When you further consider that the entire thing comes on top of a nice chrome-finished brass stand, it should come as no surprise that it costs thousands of dollars to purchase one of these incredible pieces. Number 6. The Phone Booth. While phone booths are more or less obsolete, in 2016 the Twitter user @Matuyasan found one being used in a creative way in a back alley on the streets of Yamato Koriyama City in Japan. This is because the old payphone was filled with water and goldfish, with the cool installation being owned by a small coffee shop known as K Coffee. Once it hit Twitter, this fish tank went viral, and soon many visitors came to have a coffee and watch the fish. However, while it certainly got its 15 minutes of fame, in a strange turn of events, it had to be taken down due to copyright infringement. While many of the details are unclear, the story goes that after Japanese contemporary artist Nobuki Yamamoto saw the phone booth, he got quite upset because he thought that it looked almost identical to the phone booth tank he made in 1998. As such, Yamamoto agreed that he should be credited as the creator and received nearly $30,000 in damages, although the Kyoto University of Art, which was the organization behind its creation, claimed that they did not copy his work at all since they didn't know it even existed. Nevertheless, in order to prevent any further complications, they decided to tear the phone booth down, putting an end to this beautiful yet potentially plagiarized display. Number 5. John Marcus's 40,000-liter aquarium. While there are plenty of massive aquariums out there, few are quite as large as the one owned by a certain John Marcus. Located in the garage of his Los Angeles home, Marcus has revamped the garage from use as car storage to fish storage, as inside he built an aquarium that's nearly 8 meters wide and nearly 4 meters deep, costing about $100,000 to build, and has about $50,000 worth of fish inside. And he's got a monthly maintenance bill of about $2,000, and was constructed thanks to the help of a 45-ton tank that holds about 36 tons of water, 7 tons of gravel, 1 ton of driftwood, and once all is said and done, about 90 tons of total weight. While this may seem pretty crazy, the awesome plus side of all these costly materials is that the aquarium can now house lots of pretty cool species, which include colorful peacock bass, picouths, which are a gentler cousin of the piranha, and a rare fly river turtle, although the absolute highlight of the tank are its 2 arapaimas, which are by some accounts the largest freshwater fish in the world. As such, while maintenance tasks such as regularly diving into the tank and cleaning it and feeding the fish fresh meat twice per day is costly, it's a rewarding experience for John Marcus and his family. Number 4. An Ecosystem Aquarium. While most aquariums have to have their water changed out regularly, ecosystem tanks are a bit different. This is because all these aquariums are essentially tanks where nothing has to be changed. Rather, the plants inside do all of the cleaning and filtering, meaning that the owner of one of these tanks simply needs to trim the plants and top up the water, rather than do any serious maintenance. Now, in order to make one, you first start by putting down a gravel base and covering it in sand to act as a natural filter. Then once this is in, you add as many plants as possible. This is important because plants are able to cycle nitrates, which is important because if these build up in the tank, they can stress out the fish and eventually kill them. And the aquarium needs to receive ample light and essentially be able to function as it would in the wild. As without the light and plant volume nitrates, it will not cycle quickly enough. Once the plants have grown in and the conditions are set, fish can be added in, and for good measure, many people use tropical saltwater fish, since these species tend to be more resistant to nitrates in case they do begin to build up a little bit. However, so long as you do your homework and everything is done right, it's possible to create a completely self-sufficient fish tank that requires very little maintenance work. Number 3. The $7,000 Paludarium. While many people choose to keep a tank that exclusively houses fish, there are some that opt to own a paludarium. This is essentially an enclosure that incorporates both aquatic and terrestrial elements, amounting to a tank that has both fish and land animals inside. And while there are countless ways to create one of these fascinating exhibits, one of the most impressive out there was displayed at the Aquacella Festival in Dallas in 2019. Coming in at 6 feet in length, 5 feet in height, and 2 feet in depth, the tank is pretty massive. And while the actual aquarium part has about 600 liters of water, the land area is also very substantial. You see, in order to make the tank as similar to the wild as possible, it was made so that it essentially mirrors a South American ecosystem. As a result, it not only has native plants and additions such as rocks and logs to simulate the wild, but it also has a collection of species with the exact same temperature requirements so they can live in perfect harmony. And in the case of the $7,000 Paludarium, this means that it contains a collection of neon tetras, Colombian tetras, and angelfish, which all swim in peace alongside a much larger caiman lizard, which is a semi-aquatic species that basks in the light, swims in the water, and eats a diet almost exclusively of snails. As a result, the entire Paludarium works well, and I wouldn't be surprised if others decide to create a similar setup in the future. Number 2. The 200,000-liter aquarium. It is near inconceivable that anyone other than a well-funded institute would be able to install a 50,000-gallon aquarium, yet that's exactly what happened between 1994 and 1997 in the home of a certain fish fanatic. Being made in an L shape, the long part of the L is 11 meters long and the short part is 7 meters long, and the depth is just under 3 meters, and gives it a volume of a little over 50,000 gallons. For reference, this means this aquarium is about the size of the average 2-bedroom apartment. And due to its size, it houses everything from a large variety of small cichlids, barbs, and curricans to much larger fish such as arapaimas. Now, in order to make this tank function well, it has a variety of pretty cool features. These include a viewing glass area so the tank can be viewed from above, 11 skylights in the roof so light can come into the tank at different angles, and large amounts of lava rock and driftwood so the fish can hide and interact with their environment as they would in the wild. This is all regulated with the help of a 600-pound sand filter, the natural filtration of the lava rocks, and a collection of swimming pool drains. And while a total of about 10,000 gallons of water is funneled in and out every week in order to keep the water healthy, this aquarium is very unique. It certainly isn't an easy thing to maintain. Number 1. The Fish Cellar. When purchasing a home with a basement cellar, most will use it to store specialty food items such as wines, meats, or cheeses. However, Jack Heathcote of Nottingham in England had completely different intentions due to the fact that he opted to convert his large cellar into a fully functioning aquarium. You see, Jack fell in love with fish after visiting the Blackpool Aquarium at 10 years old, and ever since he's been on a mission to bring his hobby to new heights. Now, in order to create what has been dubbed the largest private aquarium in Britain, Heathcote had to rejig the cellar a bit, creating a hole in the roof of the basement so it could be accessed by the main floor, and changing one of the brick walls to a wall made of glass. He then had to calculate exactly how much water the tank could hold without exerting too much pressure, and after doing so, he paid £700 for the glass panels, £800 for the fiberglass lining, and after extra expenses had the grand total of the cellar tank come out to be about £5,000. The end result was a 3.7 by 3.7 by 2.1 meter aquarium that holds 18,200 liters of water, and inside houses 2 chainsaw doradids, 3 60-centimeter long pacas, some pangasius, a red-tailed hybrid catfish, 2 alligator gars, and 8 enormous stingrays, plus 2 silver arowanas and 2 fly river turtles, all of which hail from locales as distant as the Amazon and Congo Basin. While these fish are certainly cool, it should come as little surprise that they're rather difficult to maintain, as Heathcote has to pump in and pump out an astounding 4,500 liters of water every few days to keep the fish healthy and clean, and has to feed the fish every 2 to 3 days with large amounts of food, and it's got to spend an inordinate amount of money paying for electricity in order to keep the tank at an optimal temperature. However, caring for these fish is truly his passion, and despite the time and money commitment, he happily uses a large part of his wages as a salsa teacher to run his amazing aquarium. Watch our Animals playlist for more top 15 videos about animals. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best animal-related videos.